As 2025 begins, tensions remain high from the Taiwan Strait to the South China Sea. The Chinese Communist Party's Air Force and Navy have been conducting so-called patrols and exercises. During the Chinese New Year holiday on February 2nd, China's Ministry of National Defense released a music video featuring various main battle equipment. Among them was the CCP's Marine Corps, which calls itself the troops within the troops and has remained relatively mysterious. After sending 32 personnel to an international military exercise in Brazil in the latter half of last year, the CCP Marine Corps made a high-profile appearance at the Zhuhai Air Show at the end of the year. Official media widely reported on it, but details about this military force remain limited. The CCP originally established its Marine Corps in the 1950s after coming to power. At its peak, it had 8 divisions and 110,000 personnel. However, the unit was disbanded in January 1957. In May 1980, a new Marine Corps unit was officially formed in Anding County, Hainan Province. The government positioned it as a highly integrated amphibious combat force made up of multiple military branches. Before 2017, under Xi Jinping's leadership, the Marine Corps consisted of only 2 brigades under the Southern Theater Fleet, both stationed in Zhanjiang, the 1st Marine Brigade and the 164th Marine Brigade. During military reforms in 2017, the Marine Corps became an independent branch directly under the Navy headquarters, while its wartime command was assigned to different theater commands. Available data shows the CCP Marine Corps has 7 regular brigades spread across the Eastern, Southern, and Northern theater commands. By 2026, each theater command is expected to have an additional Marine Corps brigade. During China's military restructuring, pro-Beijing military commentators claimed the Marine Corps' primary mission was targeting Taiwan, with secondary objectives involving areas like the Spratly Islands and the Diaoyu Islands. However, retired U.S. Navy Captain Sam J. Tancredi told Voice of America that China's recent focus on amphibious landings and large attack ships extends beyond Taiwan. He noted that the CCP's Marine Corps could also be used to seize islands in the South China Sea that the Philippines traditionally claims sovereignty over. If the U.S. intervenes, China's Marine Corps could be deployed to capture American overseas bases. Military analyst Shen Zhou, however, believes the CCP Marine Corps currently lacks the combat capability needed for such operations. Even an invasion of Taiwan would pose significant challenges. First, he argues that the force is too small. After its reorganization, the CCP Marine Corps consisted of 6 brigades with about 40,000 troops spread across 3 different theater commands. The Eastern Theater Command has 2 Marine Corps brigades. The 3rd Brigade is stationed in Xinjiang, Fujian, near Kinmen, suggesting readiness for an assault on the island. The 4th Brigade is based in Jieyang, Guangdong, near Shantou, which could indicate preparations for an attack on southern Taiwan, including Tainan and Kaohsiung. The Southern Theater Command also has 2 Marine Corps brigades, both stationed in Zhanjiang, Guangdong, close to Hainan Island but farther from Taiwan. These brigades seem more focused on defending Hainan in case of a counterattack by U.S. or Allied forces. They're also likely tasked with securing islands in the South China Sea and potentially confronting Vietnam. About half of the CCP's amphibious landing ships are based in Zhanjiang, suggesting long-term plans that could include operations in Southeast Asia. Shen Zhou believes that if the CCP plans to start a war in the Taiwan Strait, the 2 Marine Corps brigades in the Southern Theater Command should be relocated to the Eastern Theater Command. Depending on whether the main attack targets Taipei or southern Taiwan, they would likely be deployed near Shantou or Ningde and Fuzhou, Fujian Province. The Northern Theater Command has 2 Marine Corps brigades. The 5th Brigade is stationed in Qingdao, Shandong, while the 6th Brigade is in Haiyang, Shandong. Both are far from Taiwan, suggesting their focus is on the Korean Peninsula. If the CCP were to prepare for war in the Taiwan Strait, these 2 brigades would likely be transferred to the Eastern Theater Command. Military analyst Shen Zhou points out that the CCP's Marine Corps is spread out in different locations and assigned overly complex missions. Even if all 6 brigades were concentrated in one place, they wouldn't be enough for an invasion of Taiwan. The 3rd Brigade has long been stationed in Xinjiang, Fujian, near Kinmen. If tasked with attacking Kinmen during wartime, it would reduce the forces and equipment available for an assault on Taiwan. If this brigade were instead relocated north to Fuzhou or Ningde, or south to Shantou during a conflict, then its long-term presence in Xinjiang would only have symbolic political value. Additionally, since these 6 brigades rarely train or conduct exercises together and are stationed in different climates and geographical environments, their combat effectiveness would likely suffer if suddenly deployed to Fujian. The CCP likely recognizes that its Marine Corps alone is insufficient. It has established amphibious combined arms brigades within 3 Army group units. The 72nd Group Army, under the Eastern Theater Command, has 6 brigades, including 2 amphibious combined arms brigades stationed in Huzhou, Zhejiang, near Shanghai. The Eastern Theater's amphibious landing ships, including 2 Type 075 amphibious assault ships, are based in Shanghai. The 73rd Group Army also has 6 brigades, with 2 amphibious combined arms brigades based in Tong'an, Fujian, close to Xiamen and Kinmen, suggesting they're also preparing for a Kinmen operation. The 74th Group Army under the Southern Theater Command has 6 brigades, including 2 amphibious combined arms brigades stationed in Huizhou, Guangdong. Shenzhou estimates that these 6 amphibious combined arms brigades, totaling about 36,000 troops, serve as additional amphibious assault forces beyond the Marine Corps. However, like the Marine Corps, they're not stationed together, making joint training difficult. If combined with the 6 Marine Corps brigades, the total force would consist of 12 brigades, with approximately 72,000 frontline troops. He also points out that the CCP has positioned 1 Marine Corps brigade and 2 amphibious combined arms brigades near Kinmen, indicating plans for an assault. However, these 3 brigades, totaling about 1,800 troops, may not be enough to quickly seize Kinmen. Their main role would likely to be establish a beachhead. If they lose half their forces during the landing, the remaining 9,000 troops would struggle to hold the position. The CCP's ability to invade Taiwan is also limited by its amphibious assault vehicles. The Marine Corps and amphibious combined arms brigades primarily use the ZBD-05 amphibious infantry fighting vehicle, which has a 3-person crew and can carry 8 soldiers. To enhance firepower, the Marine Corps also uses the ZDT-05 amphibious assault vehicle, which looks similar but is equipped with a 105mm cannon for close-range shore bombardment. This variant has a 4-person crew and cannot carry additional troops. Shenzhou notes that both vehicles travel at about 25 kilometers per hour in water and weigh 26 tons, but their armor is thin and vulnerable to standard artillery and anti-tank missiles. Another vehicle in service is the ZBL-08 or ZTL-11 wheeled armor personnel carrier, which has crew of 2 to 3 and can transport 7 to 10 soldiers. However, its water speed is much slower, around 13 kilometers per hour, making it difficult to keep up with the tracked amphibious vehicles. Its armor is even weaker. Shenzhou believes that because the CCP's Navy and Air Force lack sufficient fire support for amphibious landings, the Marine Corps must rely on its own firepower for shore assaults. This makes invasion planning more complicated and could slow down landing operations. The Marine Corps relies heavily on amphibious vehicles armed with 150mm cannons. Shenzhou argues that these cannons lack firepower, have limited range, and weak armor protection. They would face continuous attacks from Taiwan's 155mm artillery, tank cannons, anti-tank missiles, and helicopters, making them highly vulnerable to being destroyed in the water. Even those that make it to shore would struggle against Taiwan's tanks and anti-armor weapons, while lighter armored units following behind would have even lower survival chances. The CCP also has a limited number of Type 15 light tanks and self-propelled artillery. However, these vehicles cannot operate in water and would have to be transported by ship after a beachhead is secured. Even then, the Type 15's armor is weak, making it ineffective against Taiwan's tanks. Each of the CCP's military group units includes an aviation brigade equipped with attack and utility helicopters. However, Russia has suffered heavy losses of attack helicopters in Ukraine, particularly against shoulder-fired Stinger missiles. Taiwan has long possessed U.S.-made Stinger missiles and close-in air defense cannons, making it difficult for the CCP's helicopters to operate effectively in an invasion scenario. The most common attack helicopter in the CCP Army is the Z-10, with over 400 units possibly in service. It copies both Russian and American designs, but only carries a two-person crew, limiting its ability to transport additional soldiers. Another modified light attack helicopter, the Z-19, has similar limitations. The CCP Army's utility helicopters, including the Z-8 and Z-9, are based on French technology and can carry about 20 soldiers. The most recent addition is the Z-20, a Chinese version of the U.S. Black Hawk helicopter. However, the various helicopters the CCP has copied are relatively outdated, slower, and prone to breakdowns. In October 2024, the CCP Marine Corps officially announced the first photo of the Z-20J, a new shipborne version of the Z-20, making its official entry into service. Shenzhou believes that whether for amphibious or tri-service landings, the CCP Marine Corps lacks enough personnel and equipment to support its operations. The organization and training are inadequate, and they lack relevant experience. The biggest challenge is the lack of sufficient sea and air support for the landings. Large landing ships like the Type 075, 076, and 071 are likely to be the first targets to be sunk, resulting in the Marine Corps' main force being lost at sea. In fact, the Marine Corps faces a broader issue that affects the entire CCP military. The quality of their equipment may not be guaranteed. The CCP has recently showcased its military achievements, including the J-35A stealth fighter, which has been touted as the world's best in stealth, followed by the launch of the first domestically produced Type 076 amphibious assault ship, which has sparked excitement among pro-CCP internet users. In recent years, the CCP has deployed the J-20 fighter, Dongfeng missiles, and Type 071 landing ships in its military exercises around Taiwan to create a tense atmosphere. However, CCP military manufacturing has been plagued by corruption and internal power struggles. The China Shipbuilding Industry Corporation is responsible for converting the Ukrainian Varyag aircraft carrier into China's first domestically produced carrier, the Liaoning. It's also known for building the domestically produced Shandong carrier. However, it has seen its general manager Sun Bo and chairman Hu Wenming both fall from power. The former chairman of the China Aviation Industry Corporation, which manufactures the J-20 fighters, was also removed last year due to corruption. Yang Wei, a key expert at the company, known as the father of the J-20, was recently dismissed. High-level officials at CSIC, responsible for producing the Type 076 amphibious assault ship, have also been quietly purged. Former Deputy Director Zhao Jie at the Technology Department of Luoyang Oqi Company, which participated in CCP military production for 13 years, recently revealed that corruption affects the quality of military production, thus impacting combat readiness. He recalled an incident in 2021 when a bolt from an external supplier, which was not properly tested, was installed in a Z-10 attack helicopter. During a test flight, the helicopter crashed. Zhao Jie explained that after the collapse of the Soviet Union, CCP military manufacturing experienced significant development. As the Soviet Union faced economic crises, it sold off military equipment such as the Su-27 fighter, Kilo-class submarines, and equipment from Ukraine, including air-cushion landing craft, which China then reverse-engineered. His company undertook many of these reverse engineering tasks. He further explained that after moving to the U.S., he met many Chinese Americans who were impressed by China's advanced weapons, including the J-20 and rumored sixth-generation fighters. However, Zhao believes the CCP system leads to a reliance on imitation, with little innovation. The government avoids spending long periods on research and development, opting instead to copy designs quickly. Under the authoritarian regime, corruption is rampant, with officials often engaging in bribery. For instance, Zhao cited the example of a helmet for the J-10 fighter. A budget of 10 million yuan was allocated for its research, but most of it was embezzled. The Military Research Institute took half of the funds, and the remaining amount was subcontracted to a civilian company, which then had to bribe the institute's leaders, leaving only a small portion for actual production costs. Within such a system, it's impossible to produce high-quality products. Zhao also mentioned that a large portion of the CCP's military production comes from reverse engineering and purchasing equipment on the global black market. They have even bought CNC machines used to produce military goods from the black market. Although the CCP might secretly produce some items, their production rate cannot keep up with the high consumption rate in wartime. Even if they manage to produce some military equipment, they can't sustain it in actual combat. Zhao Jie believes that the current state of China's military-industrial system allows the government to funnel resources, originally intended for civilian use, into the military. This may involve copying existing technologies or making limited innovations to produce military equipment. On the surface, it appears that China's military industry is thriving, but it's similar to historical examples like the Qing dynasty's Beiyang fleet, or Russia's so-called Steel Tide Group. These forces, despite appearing strong, cannot withstand real combat. They're like an inflated balloon that seems large and powerful, but a single needle could deflate them. Recently, several scholars have warned that the CCP's armed police force is undergoing training for various operations, including naval and urban warfare. Experts suggest that the armed police will play a key role in any potential invasion of Taiwan. Taiwanese military expert Su Ziyun notes that the CCP's amphibious assault plans certainly involve the use of ships for landing and aircraft for transport to send the armed police to Taiwan. This indicates the CCP's strategy, where the Marine Corps and amphibious combined arms brigades from various theater commands would carry out the initial assault. If the first wave fails, there would be no subsequent forces to establish foothold on Taiwan. However, Su Ziyun believes that if the CCP's military action fails or faces setbacks, it would be a political disaster for the CCP regime. On October 13, 2020, while inspecting Guangdong, Xi Jinping visited a unit of the CCP Marine Corps in the Chaoshan region. He emphasized that the Marine Corps must prepare for war. U.S.-based political scholar Wang Juntao argues that for the CCP to attack Taiwan, it would have to use the Marine Corps, as the Corps' physical requirements are distinct from those of regular ground forces and are suited for initial landings. However, Xi Jinping is reluctant to delegate military power. He fears transferring authorities to others, worried that it might lead to a military coup. On October 7, 2020, then U.S. National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien warned the CCP against attempting to use force to invade Taiwan, stressing that amphibious operations are extremely difficult. Military commentator Xu Ke points out that the U.S. has the most extensive experience in amphibious landings, while the CCP lacks similar successful experiences. The U.S. carried out the largest amphibious assault in history, the Normandy landings during World War II, and it also faced numerous complex and brutal amphibious battles in the Pacific theater. Looking back at examples from the Pacific War, one can understand how difficult amphibious operations truly are. Therefore, the U.S. hopes the CCP will recognize the difficulty and back down. However, if the CCP takes risks, Taiwan could face hellish scenarios, with the CCP Marine Corps serving as its first casualties.